8:30 Eastern. Dixie Football Nation is back and better than ever. We've got Tony Agolini, Matt Carr, Tones Areola, Bobby and Angelo, along with Mac McGee this fall. Dixie Football Nation heads to the gridiron, talking ACC, SEC, the Big Ten, and all the big games throughout the college football land. That's Dixie Football Nation, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, Saturday mornings on the Armchair Quarterback Show's YouTube channel, going live. Or catch the instant replay. Good morning. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterbacks, YouTube, and wherever you're listening to us on CBS Sports Radio. Tony Agolini, how the hell are you to Gators and golf?
Great, man. Happy Friday. How are you?
Happy Friday's been long time no hear from you. A lot has happened since the last time we did one of these shows, just a couple of weeks, and holy crap, what the hell, man? We had a major championship. We have SEC media days. We have Olympic golf, and then of course the entire Southeastern Conference is saying, "Bring everybody. Let's just go. Let's just make it NFL light." The news of Oklahoma and Texas has now spawned a lot of speculation that other teams could be coming. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the start of, almost everybody headed to one conference or two conferences between the Big Ten and the SEC. So these next few weeks are going to be pretty interesting just to see how the other dominoes fall. And, I think ESPN and, the other networks are kind of throwing their weight around too, just to make sure no one gets left behind. So, I part of me misses the nostalgic me misses the old days when the SEC was 10 teams and then 12, and now we're at 14 and now we're at 16. But I think ultimately for the greater purpose of college sports, I think, ultimately it's going to end up at two nationwide divisions almost of say 24 teams, because something's got to happen with FSU and Clemson, because I don't know exactly what's going to happen with the ACC. And there's some big time schools there, and everybody thinks football first, and that's kind of the way it goes. That's the biggest moneymaker, followed by college basketball. But for as good as FSU is in basketball, Clemson's not. The football drives the ratings. So what's going to happen with those two schools? And I do think the ACC will be there for the long run. I think it'll just look a little bit different, because Duke and Carolina, I don't think are necessarily going to go anywhere, but we'll see. But this seems to be the tip of the iceberg, and a lot's going to happen here in the next, I guess, month or two.
So let's just go ahead and assume that Oklahoma and Texas get that they accept the invitations, which are going out today, most likely.
Yeah.
And so how does that division look, assuming they don't bring anybody else in, right?
Yeah.
No one else comes in. It's just we're going from 14 to 16, because the way I see it, the smartest, easiest way, because you would also preserve and reborn some new rivalries, or some old rivalries, some old Southwest Conference rivalries, is if you took Alabama and Auburn, stuck them in the East, then you would have the West would be set up with the Mississippi schools and the old Southwest Conference is essentially what it would be.
Yeah, I mean, if they're doing it that way, I'm with you. I think that'd be great. Alabama and Florida and Alabama and Georgia hardly ever play in the regular season anyway. I mean, this is we host Alabama, and this is Saban's first trip to the Swamp, as Alabama's second trip as coach at the Swamp, and that's insane. And I always bitch about the Auburn game because Auburn's 5.5 hours away. I love going there. It's easy to get to. It's fun. It's a great atmosphere there. And Florida plays there. We'll play there, I think, in 2024. And the last time we were there was, forever ago, 12 years. I think it's Muschamp's first or second year. So um, that part of it, that's only going to get worse. You're never going to see these other teams, but I do think Alabama and Auburn being in the same side as Florida, Georgia, I think that's great. Auburn, Tennessee used to be a big rivalry back in the day too. That was, that's one of those that went by the wayside. I don't need to play Arkansas, Mississippi State, whatever, every single year. We used to play Mississippi State every year. But the other plan I've seen too are with all these teams are four team pods. And I don't necessarily know how they would get. I guess they'd play like a semifinal game between the winners of two pods and play the guy from the other side. But
there's not enough teams to have that many divisions.
yeah, like if you're going 4x4, we're gonna get stuck. Georgia, obviously, and then we'll get stuck with like South Carolina, and the other one I saw was like Kentucky. Now I would put Florida, Auburn,
That sounds
Georgia.
like a Gator fan coming up with that because they want to avoid Alabama and Auburn.
Well, to me, that's the most boring thing ever. Like I would rather have
but most Gator fans want to go run and hide, and most Gator fans want to play South Carolina's. Oh, if we can beat them this year, we can get the pod.
If I was going to put four, I'd have Florida, Georgia, Auburn, and then South Carolina because we're all 5 hours away from each other. Right. And Georgia doesn't matter because we're playing them here. But
if it's only going to be 8 teams, you can't. Yeah, that's like the goofiest.
Too much going on for that. And all of a sudden, then too, it becomes the NFL. Like, what are you gonna do? Add a couple wild cards, and then this, that, and the other. So, but we'll see. I do think the conference has to go to like 9 or 10 game schedule.
I think 9 because if you're in an 8 and then you have 7 opponents, correct? So you would have 2. You'd still have 2 out of division games, and you could create a rivalry game, or you could do a true rotating thing, which I think they would go to a true rotating thing because there's not any natural rivalries. If you put Alabama and Auburn in the East, there are no longer natural rivalries per se. Yeah, LSU has some rivalries with Alabama and Florida, obviously, but I think you'd be fine because LSU would still be playing Oklahoma. They'd be playing Texas. The East, your oldest rivalry is what? Auburn, Georgia, right? So they're going to play each other every year. Florida, Georgia, they're going to play each other every year. Tennessee, Alabama, they'd be in the same division. So I don't think there would be a reason to have to have a natural rivalry. So you get away from what you're alluding to with the Nick Saban only going to Gainesville twice in his career at Alabama, and he's been there since the late 2000s. Mm-hmm. So if you rotated it every year, obviously home and home, but you rotate it every year, then most kids would play. If the kids stayed the full 4, they would get to play every team in the Southeastern Conference essentially.
Yeah. And that's what I'm all for. I think more diversity in schedules. I mean, we finally got to good Ole Miss after 100 years last year. And of course, the fan base really couldn't go because of limited attendance, which that stunk. But, and it's funny though, Florida finally scheduled some out of conference opponents, one of which is Texas, like in 10 years. And sure enough, they're going to be in the SEC anyway. So all that was for naught. But
now, so that takes them to 16 teams. If they were to add Florida State and Clemson, and what we're talking about is there was the news buzz hit yesterday because James Thrasher kind of made a gaffe and said, yeah, we don't want to be left out, blah, blah, blah. And it makes it sound like he's not happy in the South ACC. So a bunch of people ran with that story. If Clemson and Florida State come in to make it 18, don't you think it's a foregone conclusion they're going to go try to find 2 more to make it an even 20 and do 10 team divisions essentially?
Yeah, they'll have to do something, but I think ultimately we're just going to have 2 giant super conferences, and Big 10, Pac-10 do something. Whatever's left over the Big 12 is going to go to like the Power 5 AAC. So you'll have like UCF and Texas Tech and Baylor, and like what happens to all those schools? Because really, Baylor and Texas Christian have had good years, but it's not like, no one's knocking down their door. They're not bringing in
I think the Pac-12 will go after them because
I think so too.
I think the Pac-12 would. We kind of broke this down the other day, and we can probably get more into this when we hit the college football season. But essentially, the teams that aren't named Texas that are in the state of Texas that are in the Big 12, they all go to the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 would like to have television sets on in Texas with Pac-12 there. I think you get the Iowa States to head to the Big Ten.
Right. Kansas.
Kansas State. That I've got them going to the Big Ten, but it would not shock me because of their basketball lineage if they want to go to the ACC instead, right? But it's not like the Big Ten is a pushover basketball conference by much of the imagination. But they won't get left out because of their basketball. I do believe West Virginia heads to the ACC. That's where they belong. That's where they should have went all along. I didn't understand it when they went to the Big 12 to begin with. Like, the hell are you doing? You're going 6,000 miles to play, every one of your road games. It's just it's insane.
What was the saying with West Virginia has a SEC? It's an ACC location, but a SEC mindset or SEC attitude, I guess, up at West Virginia.
They can't read. Is it? Yeah. Are we picking on their inability for scholastic?
SEC academics minus a few schools, but
they're in the ACC area, but they read like they're in the SEC.
Yeah, pretty. That's about.
They're reading on an SEC level is what you're trying to say.
I mean, they are. I mean, culturally.
Does Vanderbilt get kicked out of the SEC?
What's that?
Does Vanderbilt get kicked out of the SEC?
I don't think so. I mean, there's like 4 or 5 schools in the SEC that are on that like a little higher level academically, and Vandy's one of them, and they really don't suck a bunch of money from the conference, and everybody loves going up to Nashville. So I'd keep them, and we like the win up there, but I would overhaul their baseball program though, start taking away some of those free rides they give out.
Yeah, I think they want to stay in the SEC because they don't care about the other sports. They're going to try to build a baseball program, and they're like, we'll do what we do, but we're going to take your money, so we'll be fine. It looks like Rocker could be headed back to Vanderbilt, by the way, so that's an interesting development that came up yesterday. He may have to have surgery because the Mets don't want to sign him, and if the Mets don't want to sign him, he could come back and play for Vanderbilt. And of course, now with the money that's available, he could come back, have Tommy John surgery is what they think he might need, and go play for Vanderbilt for the next couple of years, build himself back up. But he would have a brand that he could definitely sell in the city of Nashville. We're going to run out of time if we don't switch gears over to all the other stuff going on in the world of golf. But by the way, before we hit golf real quick, is there anything at the SEC Media Days that really jumped out at you?
I thought Saban's comment about his quarterback already have $1 million in his pocket for the licensing stuff. I thought that was, and he didn't even. I don't know if he said that at Media Days. I think he said that at like a Texas conference.
Yeah.
But still, it was that week.
But he did that braggadociously because he's trying to get their attention that your kid needs to come to Alabama.
Absolutely, Texas, the hotbed for quarterbacks too. So that wasn't a coincidence that was brought up at that, but not really. Everybody only brought 2 players. I would have probably liked to see maybe Emory Jones show up for Florida, but I think if there was a third, it would have been him. We brought 2 defensive guys that are good kids, I guess, but just kind of boring. Nobody really said anything crazy or anything like that.
Was he worried that he bring? Because I don't know anything about Emory Jones, but is he braggadocious? Was he afraid he's going to say something?
No, I just think they brought 2 guys. Like Zach Carter's a senior. The other kid's a senior too. They've both been in a program for a long time. Zach Carter's on a couple leadership committees with the SEC, and
you don't want. You don't want Emory Jones coming out with a "Bring on Bama" T-shirt coming out.
Yeah, we're gonna kill everybody this year.
Yeah. Oh, y'all underestimate me.
Yeah, Kyle who, and then but it was pretty status quo. I'm with Mullen on going to 9 conference games. I'm not with Mullen as far as dropping the permanent opponent in LSU. I like the LSU game. I think it's a lot of fun. Keeps it interesting. I'd rather play them every year.
I think that whole thing's a moot point now, right?
Right, exactly. Now it doesn't matter. So
now, as far as as far as all that goes with the SEC Media Days, do you ever expect anything groundbreaking to be said, or is it more of just this gets me geared up for football?
Not these days. I think when it went to TV and all that kind of stuff, I think that's when it's a made for TV event now. That's when it all changed. But like back in the day when it was, 3 or 4 weeks before football season instead of 7 or 8 or 6, you might catch some details. But now with Twitter and social media, everything's already out there. Like they're not going to break any injury news at media days because that's already been reported by some dude on campus that saw, some kid on in a boot or something like that. So there's just it's all it's all for show, and SEC Network loves it, and it's okay to me. It gives you something to do for a few days, at least like reading some articles. But yeah, the days of like really getting to know the kids at SEC Media Days, I think those are long gone too.
Now, as far as golf, got the Olympics going on right now, and I'm so confused with this. I watch it at night as I'm going to bed, but I don't know what the hell round I'm in and what time they're really playing. And
It's a it's an
evidently,
interesting time schedule, that's for sure.
evidently, it was in some kind of a rain delay, but I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. I was so damn confused. What is going on with the Olympic golf?
So it starts at the right time. I mean, it starts about 6:30, 7 o'clock here in the States. So that part's cool. The problem is, about they're not going off double T's. It's like the Masters. It's three guys. They're all going off one, and it takes forever to get everybody going. So by the time you might see the leaders, finish up if you stay up till 11 o'clock. But other than that, you have no chance of seeing the rest of it unless you're up until 4 or 5 in the morning. They did have a delay. Not everybody finished round two, so they don't have tee times out for tonight. But Xander Schauffele shot 8 under yesterday, put him at the top of the leaderboard. His history, he's won events like this where there's a limited field, which that's the case here, and there are no cuts. Like the same groups that started is going to be the same group that finished. So this event might be right up his alley, and he had a big round yesterday. His issue is getting to Sunday and finishing things off. So we'll see what happens there. But it's kind of a cool leaderboard. I mean, some of the bigger names step forward. Other than Schauffele, none of the Americans really, made a big move yesterday. But I guess he's our best hope, and it is kind of cool seeing these guys play for their country. I think one of the stories was with Rory, because he's got it's kind of, if you grow up, a big fan of one school and then went to another, it's kind of one of those for Rory where he really didn't know what country to play for: Ireland, Northern Ireland, UK, whatever. So he's kind of there just to kind of grow the game and see if he can win a gold medal. But he's kind of, it's almost like he's reluctantly playing for Ireland, without disrespecting Northern Ireland. So that's been a story. Matsuyama obviously is the hero out there. Everybody wants to see him win a gold medal on top of the Masters. I don't know if that's going to be doable or not, but he's got a couple holes left for round two. But they'll get going round 3 tonight, round 4 tomorrow night, and if you can stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning, which even I don't know if I could do that, you'll see a gold medal. But the course is cool. It's kind of like their Augusta.
I've just been recording it and then watching it,
which is a good way to watch golf too. So a little quicker that way. The course itself doesn't come off to me as very challenging. I mean, 16, 20 under might win this thing. It's just looks like every other course here in the States, except maybe there's not a blade of grass that's moving the wrong direction, it looks like. But yeah, it's kind of this isn't one of those where the greens are super fast. They want guys to shoot par. Like they're just playing it like a regular golf course, and 16 under, 20 under might win it. Not the most exciting rendition of the sport.
Well, but it actually gives me a reason to watch, because I guess I'm one of the few people who are actually watching the Olympics. And so I like the fact that it comes on several different channel options. So I usually have a couple of them going at the same time to kind of flip back and forth to the sport that I like. I've been watching Olympic golf. I've been watching a lot of volleyball. Every time 3-on-3 basketball comes on, I change that damn crap. That is the most boring crap I've ever seen in my life. It's like, it's bad enough you're gonna try to force me to watch the WNBA. Now it's the 3-on-3 version. Ugh, what are they doing to us?
Baseball's getting going.
Yeah. Thank God. I think badminton's over with, whatever the hell that was. Like this is something you get around in the backyard with the beer. This isn't supposed to be competitive.
I will say this: Olympic coverage. If you watch the golf, you see a ton of golf shots, and it's because they're using Japan's, basically their camera feed for all these sports. The last channel you want to tune into is NBC, because you're not getting any sports. You're just getting all the features on random athletes and they explain the sport and all that kind of stuff. But if you actually want to see like competition, you have to go to the other channels, not NBC. I do wish we got the golf coverage on CBS like they're showing in like the Japan cameras are showing, because we get to actually see every shot. You don't hear a lot of like, this happened a second ago, five holes ago, and all this kind of stuff like that. But yeah, it just doesn't, Olympic golf it doesn't have the theater of the Ryder Cup. Everything's stroke play in the Olympics, so it's just you versus the course. It's not like we're going to have some Patrick Reed, McIlroy standoff at this thing. So that's a month and a half away, but something different, something cool, and to get us through FedEx here in the next couple weeks.
What is your walk off for the day, sir?
NBA draft last night. I guess I was a little surprised to see Scotty Lewis get drafted about halfway through the second round by the Hornets, and Trey Mann ended up in the first round. He'd kind of been slipping a little bit. He's going to OKC, so he'll get some guaranteed money. And people dog Coach White for not having draft picks. Now he's got two, but ultimately, win some more conference games, win a couple more games in the tournament, and everybody will be happy. Draft picks are cool and all, but if you're not getting that far in the tournament and basketball is not fun, having these draft picks doesn't really move the needle for me. But good for them though. 1.25 million, I think, for man. It's not bad.
The only thing I even checked on, because I didn't watch
the Barnes pick was awesome, by the way. I know where you're going probably with this. That was fantastic. He's going to be a great pro, I think.
Probably, but he's a project. I was really hoping he would end up in Orlando. That was and now he's going to go to Houston. I'm like, all right, dude. Someone will have to remind me 3 years from now that he's played at Florida State. I'm like,
I think he's Bradley Beal. I think I said that a while ago.
I can see that
he's going to be that.
Man, he is a project. I still think one more year of college would have done him wonders. But I mean, I wish him well. He was a good kid. Everything about him I like. The Franz Wagner thing, Jalen Suggs. I don't know, man. I feel like they just drafted. I feel like Orlando just watched the Final Four and they're like, hey, we know these guys. Oh, what are you doing? All right, whatever. Because the only team we get locally for free is the Magic. I would like to see them have some players that I know that I can follow. I'm not going to follow that. All right, brother. We got to run. We will see you next week, sir.
All right, man. Sounds good. Have a good one.